30-minute missions. Bandai's line of modular mecha model kits just keeps getting better and better. These kits boast an unprecedented level of out-of-the-box customization, compatibility, and all-around awesomeness. Originally, these kits may have been a little bit on the plain side with just the Alto and the Portanova. We're still yet to get those brand new base units, but what they're doing right now with the Alto and the Portanova is pretty awesome. These have evolved from looking like very standard grunt mobile suits to some real ace heavy grunt looking mecha, and I absolutely adore these. If you haven't yet dived into the 30-minute missions line of kits, I highly recommend that you do now. But anyway, let's check these out. Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another 30-minute missions review, and this one right here I'm super excited about. I've been looking forward to this particular version of the Alto for a long time, which of course is the Alto ground type brown. It's like your standard Alto, but it's brown and it's big, bulky, and militaristic. It looks cool. But what I didn't expect is how much of a game changer this right here would be. This is the option parts set 1. I assume this would be like the weapon kits and the backpack kits that we've seen in the past, but this adds a little extra something into the mix I was not expecting. This brings 30-minute missions customization to the next level. But anyway, as always, this video right here would not be possible without those absolutely fantastic people over at HobbyLink Japan. So if you want anything that you see in this video right here, then there is a link down there in the description. Now here we go. So it's this badass pair of mama jammas right here that's going to be the stars of the show today. This is essentially what you get out of box with the brown Alto, and this is the green Alto customized with one of the armor sets as well as the option set we're going to be taking a look at today. So we're going to start off over here with this guy. So this right here is what we get in the box, so that is the new variant of the Alto, as well as this extra stuff down here. And before I talk about that, I will mention that this kit does contain everything you need to make a standard brown Alto besides the backpack we would have seen in the other kits, but otherwise you can build a normal brown Alto. Besides that, we've got this bazooka we'll look at soon. This is also modular, which is pretty cool. The backpack and the caterpillar tracks that come with this kit are actually a little tank, which is pretty cool. You can see it's got windows, a little bit of a hatch on top, so it can be built as a little tank as well. So once again, the options in these kits are crazy. And of course, we've got that little support unit, which is the Roy. So this right here is what the ground use Alto looks like out of the box and snapped together. This is just the bot itself. As for what is different from what we've seen before, the legs from the knees down are these nice new bulky legs. We have some extended side skirting armor, which is bigger and bulkier. And the head right there is a new heavily armored design. It also seems to feature some kind of something on the right hand side there, which may be some kind of weapon or sensor, but the instructions doesn't say. So as for what is in the box besides the robot, we've got this little tank. This is pretty cool that it can actually be assembled just as a little tank like this. Once again, it's absolutely covered in those 3mm holes for customization. For example, you could grab one of these from the option kit, and there you go, you've got yourself a little tank turret on top. So this I'm really digging. We also have those very particular 30-minute mission joints. These are the same as the ones in the legs. They're also the same as what you'd see in the Leo, etc., the high-grade fine build kits. As is usual with these kits, everything about this is modular, so that means you can pop this into 3 different sections like so. Once again, this was held together by 3mm pegs. The central part of this attaches on as the backpack. Once again, this is the same backpack adapter you see on most high-grade gunpla nowadays. These caterpillar track tank bits, those can be used in a variety of ways. Let's check that out. The first of which is to attach them onto the back of the ankles in that extremely frame arms kind of way. So essentially these can push it along like so, and when they're not being in use, they can flip up out of the way like that. That is pretty awesome looking. The second way then is by taking these little segments I have on the back of the shields. These are included, by the way. Pop them into the bottom of the feet like so, then pop the tracks onto that for an absolutely rad pair of Mecha rollerblades. Just check that out. That is mad crazy, and I absolutely love that. For the next option, you gotta pop off the legs at the knees, then off with the knee armor, flip this section back. We've got a matching tab section right here, and you can see where this is going. That then attaches on there for this miniaturized tank Alto. Now that is even crazier, but I'm not sure if I'm digging that quite as much as what we just saw. Using this adapter here and popping it on like this, you can also attach these together, so if you get multiples of this kit, you can build yourself some kind of train. And the final option then is to attach these onto the backpack up here like this, which gives the kit a lot of awesome bulk. And when I say this is the final option. This is the final option mentioned in the manual because you can do what you want with these kits. I saw a guy on Twitter build an actual Mecha T-Rex out of these. So you are only limited by your own imagination. Next up in here, we've got a pair of these shields. We've got a 1mm hole that goes all the way through them, as well as another 1mm hole that's on the rear. Once again, you can use these in a whole multitude of ways. The basic way is to just pop this in like that, and then just armor this beast up further by popping it wherever you like the arm right there. Once again, we've got the Roy support unit, but that we've seen multiple times before. And lastly, then in here we have the Bazooka. So like I mentioned earlier on, this is modular. This can be taken apart and put together in a whole host of different ways. We've got 3mm pegs there, and the same on this side. This can then be disassembled into a multitude of elements like that, and then be reassembled in different ways. For example, pop the smaller barrel further back, attach this piece on, and then the longer section can be put up front as the barrel. So the handle is further down the length than what we would have seen before. Other options include this shorter variant, and then combine the two into this double cannon. And these, once again, are just the ones shown in the manual. You can attach these with the other weapons we would have seen with other kits because they have all the same attachment points. So once again, only limited by your own imagination. So anyway, that's what you get when you put it all together in the standard way. And as this is the third boxed variant of one of these sort of kits, let's put it side by side with the others, which is the Space Use Portanova and the Alto Flight Type. So those are the three different variants of the Alto and the Portanova available right now, and coming very soon is the underwater version of the Portanova. So next up then is this right here, which is the Option Parts Set 1. Set 2 will be coming out very soon. I'll be taking a look at that as well. It could be out right now in Japan, not sure, but this is a real game changer right here. So in the box we get all of this stuff. I'm not going to line it all up because it's all little bitty bits and it'll take forever, but that right there is a look at the side of the box as to what you get in here. So there is quite a lot of stuff. For example, the weapons and armor on the top there I knew was coming in the box, but I did not know about this right here. And this is what makes it so interesting. Got a lot of extra customizable parts. But let's take a look at everything one at a time. So for this, I'm going to be using my favorite Alto, which is the green one, in order to model all of this stuff. So first off, in here we've got a pair of these little cannons. These have that little attachment point right here, that 3mm peg, which means they can be put into any of the holes on this kit. For example, up on the shoulders, the legs, etc. But of course, with something this awesome, it just has to go on the arm like that. I'll also mention that these do rock their own standard barrel right here, but if you pull this off, that little line right there, that particular slot is compatible with a whole bunch of other stuff from other kits. Specifically, a lot of the weapons, especially the ones that we would have seen with the Portanova. For example, if I grab Char's Portanova right here, pull this Gatling section off the front, that can then be attached into the slot like this for an awesome arm-mounted Gatling gun. Now that right there is pretty rad. But of course, what if you don't have that particular option set? Well, in here you still have an awesome pair of arm or wherever mounted cannons, which look great. But in here, we also have these pair of big, long railgun looking sections. So of course these are directly compatible with these, so you can just slide that onto the top like so, and now you've got yourself one honking 3mm hole mountable railgun. That is pretty cool. And again, there's so many options with this. For example, pop this off, including this piece right here, enter the Alto we just took a look at, pop the end off his awesome bazooka, and you'll recognize that little tab right there. So yeah, on with this bit we just took off that arm-mounted cannon, pops in like so, and now it can be used with that railgun part. And now your ground-type Alto has a massive weapons upgrade. I absolutely adore how modular these kits are. That is awesome. So next up, when it comes to weapons in here, we've got these tiny little turrets. So once again, these can be used in any 3mm hole, so you can pop these up on the shoulders like so, in any of the other 3mm holes, like down here on the leg, like a kind of emergency weapon. Maybe take out some infantry on the ground. Or you can finally give your little Roy that offensive capability it's been lacking for a long time. So now you've got yourself a little walking, gunning robot. So next in the box we've got some armor. That comes in the form of these side skirting armors. To use these, you just pop off the regular armor that's on the side there. They pop into the holes like so. We do have a bit of articulation in the form of up and down on the front and back. These are exactly the same both sides, and they really do add some nice bulk that the Alto right here was lacking. Next up in here then we've got a pair of thrusters. So this is just an armored segment with a vernier in the bottom. Limitless options here again. For example, you can pop it up on the backpack there for a little bit of a thruster pack. Up on the shoulders like this for a rotating thruster that does both forward to the sides like that and for moving backwards. Or what is my personal favorite, slapping them onto the sides of the legs for one of those rotating Sinanju style thrusters. Next up then we've got 4 of these miscellaneous armor plates. That is one left and one right. On the back here we've got that peg, and again you've got a whole host of options in here. You can pop them up on the chest like this as some armor reinforcement. You can also use them as some alternate side skirting armors like so, but my personal favorite is to add them onto the shield like this. I think that looks pretty cool, and I will be coming back to this shield a little bit later. The shield, by the way, came with this particular armor set, which is the close combat armor, if I'm not mistaken. So next up in here we've got a whole host of little bits. Now these came on the second runner, and these are a whole bunch of customizable joints and parts that are absolutely mind-blowing. So we've got these little pieces right here which seem to be some kind of extra sensors. I've decided they look pretty rad up there on the shoulders, so that's where they're gonna go. Next up then we've got a bunch of these little movable joints. These are very similar to stuff we would have seen with build fighters and build divers kits. So we've got this section here as well as the attachment section. Then we can end these with a 3mm peg part. That one like that. This one then like this. And we've got 2 of those complete joints, and you can mix and match those parts, of course. But what I like them for is for this, making a kind of Jesta style shoulder shield. So I tried attaching this all the way around to the backpack like the Jesta, and I found it wasn't necessarily what I wanted from it. So I just went up here with the shoulder like that. So this sort of hands-free shield to me is pretty cool. It can drop down, protect the cockpit, and then just flip back round back out of the way. And that for me right there is my completed Ace Alto, just made with the close combat armor set as well as this new option set. And I have to say I am absolutely in love with these new parts. And that is not everything yet. So this little bit right here is one of my all-time favorite aspects about this option set. I wish we got more than just 2 in here because these are brilliant. These are plugs for closing up those holes. So if you're sick of those big old gaping holes kind of killing the big mecha look of your Alto, all you have to do is just pop that in like so, and now you've got a kind of detailed segment instead. So that is one of those holes plugged up, and just taking another color for the sake of example, there is that hole in the side of the leg. Pop that plug in there. Stand up, you. And instead of having that big gaping hole, you now have a bit of extra detail. I haven't pushed it all the way in because I want to take it back out, but it definitely looks more aesthetically pleasing than just a big old hole. So using that same customized Alto right here for an example, are you sick of the shields kind of being on the outer section of the arm like this? They've only been attachable to this segment of the arm so far. Well, this kit also includes this right here, which is very similar to what you'll see in a lot of high-grade Gundam kits. So this is for attaching shields and accessories around on the other side of the arm. So for example, you just pop it into the hole like that, and now your shield can be attached on like so, at an angle that makes more sense for blocking, but at the same time, it does kind of stick out quite a bit. This, of course, is to make up for the fact that the Portanova's arm is a little bit on the thicker side, so that fits a little more flush onto the Portanova. Next up in here, we've got a bunch of extenders and connectors. This right here is a 3mm peg to a 3mm peg hole, so it's more of an extender than anything else. So for example, if there was a situation where something did not quite fit exactly where you wanted to because of colliding parts, well, just pop that off, pop in the extender, pop that on, and there you go. No more collision. So next up then with the adapters, we've got this one right here. That is a 3mm peg to a grabby. So for example, you can pop that on like that. Actually, you know what would make more sense? Popping it on around here on the back in that kind of Iron-Blooded Orphans storage sort of way. So now we've got a little storage thing back here, which you can use for storing something like one of the swords. Just like in Iron-Blooded Orphans. And also kind of like in Iron-Blooded Orphans, every weapon is better on a stick. So this right here is just literally a bit of stick. We also have these 3mm hole to 3mm hole adapters. So for example, you can stick this stick into it and then the sword onto the end of the stick. So now you're able to maintain that social distance during the coronavirus pandemic.
You better stay 2 meters away. I said you better stay 2 meters away. Get the fuck out!
Next up then in the adapters, we've got this one right here. This of course is that little weapon type slot. It's the same as what we see down on the knees. We also have a 3mm peg on the other side of that. So uses for this include attaching knee armor where knee armor should not go, converting these slots into 3mm pegs, and creating a double-ended knee armor baton, which still kind of looks like an iron-blooded orphan's weapon. Next up, we've got a 3mm hole surrounded by 3mm pegs. This can also be used, of course, with the stick to, I don't know, make like weapons out of leftover parts, like this leg hammer. Woo! Leg hammer! Also, if your Alto gets horrifically damaged in battle, like losing its entire arm, well, worry not, we've got one of the coolest adapters in here. This is a ball joint ball to 3mm peg adapter. Now that is pretty cool. So even though it's been critically damaged, it can still continue to fight. So you can attach anything with a 3mm hole up there into the socket. So one of the last things we have in here then is just this handle attached to a 3mm hole. So for example, you could just use this with the arm cannons that I was using a little while ago to make a holdable double-barreled variant of it, just like what you're seeing right here. So that right there is it for the review. And as always with these 30-minute missions kits, these are absolutely awesome. They just keep getting better and better. When I look at the original run of these kits, especially the Altos, as well as the Portanovas of course, they did look a little bit plain, a little bit crazy when it comes to colors, but the more they release, the more they get a little bit more awesome mecha looking, bigger, bulkier. The space type Portanova, the flight type Alto, and the ground type Alto all look fantastic. And these new optional parts can take your standard Altos and make them look like awesome ace grunts. On top of that, you get a whole bunch of different adapters and parts in here that makes anything that you wanted to do with these kits before that you couldn't do before, it makes them possible right now. I absolutely adore these kits. If you haven't tried them out yet, I highly recommend that you do. There is a link down there in the description. You can get yours at HobbyLink Japan. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla and 30-minute missions reviews, because I will be checking out more of these in future, because the new evolved variants look absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for the brand new core kits that are coming out. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.